Welcome back to another episode of Inside Multifamily Access Control, sponsored by Salto. Again, as always, Colin's with me. Colin, how you doing?
Doing well. Really excited for our conversation today. So happy to be here.
I agree. And with that, let's introduce Felicity. And I'll go with just Felicity because you're like, it's just like, Cher, Prince. It's a single name. Everyone knows who we're talking about. So Felicity.
I accept. Humbly and gratefully, I'd like to thank my mom and my dad.
Nice.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Colin. Great to see you both. I feel like we're doing some circuits right now, just kind of educating the marketplace together. So really appreciate this time with you. I'm Felicity. Last name is Moorman, in case you don't know. With Stratis IoT. Stratis was recently acquired and is now a RealPage company, which is thrilling for me. Because it gives me the opportunity to do some really powerful things on our list that we're going to take us a little bit of time being a primarily bootstrap startup. So happy to be here today and talk about multifamily. Woo!
No, I think it's awesome, and it's congratulations to you and the team. There's some people that follow all of us. We've been high-fiving on the internets, but to do it here, no. But honestly, it's rare, especially in our market, to see people go from that seed to frankly to success of what you've done. And it's exciting now to see what you and RealPage will do with having some more resources and being able to maybe focus on some of the areas that you couldn't or weren't able to before. So I'm encouraged by it. I think it's awesome, and I can't wait to see what comes from it.
Thank you. So I think that constraint compels creativity. I think it's really important to have constraints, especially for innovation. But that said, I am really excited to let Charlie loose and see what he can really do from a product standpoint. He's just, he's a profoundly important member of our team. And I just feel like he was on the verge of exploding. And so now we're going to direct that in a really positive way, as opposed to some of the challenges that, of course, any startup has, but certainly those who are less capital constrained don't experience in the same way. But I'm really thrilled that 3-year product roadmap that he has, he'll deliver on much more quickly.
Yeah, and he is that type. You could tell the brain sort of constantly going, and
for the beard.
Both, and that's where they go.
Right?
So exactly. No, but in all seriousness, on that end, it's funny because when you think about innovation at large companies, sometimes having too many resources in a way gets in the way, and then you have some baggage and history of the past, and plus you have some really good opportunities and things to build from. So it becomes, but like you said, when you have to be hyper focused to survive, if you would, in a lot of ways, it does. The restriction actually becomes a positive that allows you to focus. But then at some point, you got to feed the baby and let it go. So very cool.
And he has to literally feed the baby now.
No, it all works. But yeah, so let's break down a little bit, if you would. So we saw after the acquisition happens, the Community Connect comes out, and there was a lot of interesting news. And it just happened you have the conference, I believe, or the online expo.
Real World, yeah.
Real World, right, coming out. Which funny people, I think most of us, every time I hear Real World, I have good memories of that.
Right. Don't tell us. So now everybody knows how old we are.
Yeah, there you go. But that's true. But if you look at that, so can you talk a little bit about what exactly the Community Connect is? And then there's an area in there that I know we really want to talk about, which is around the Wi-Fi side and the differences between IT and IoT Wi-Fi, and maybe even talk about a little bit of sort of the evolution where it went from like, we use this thing to get online. And then also, I think the importance to where this thing that used to be just about, I would almost say like a differentiation feature is actually, it's almost like a fundamental it's a fundamental utility in these places, right? So if you could speak a little bit about that, since you've been intimately involved in it for a long time, that'd be awesome.
All right, I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to start with the fact that the United Nations named access to internet a basic human right. That's how important it is to be able to garner information in a meaningful and impactful way. And that has been a part of our conversation at Stratis from our beginning. We are a triple bottom line focused company still today, with a social mission, an environmental mission, and obviously our fiscal mission. And so access to everything that we do is a basic tenet of what we deliver. So if we develop something for Class A, we also develop something for public housing. So that includes internet, that includes energy management, that includes even access. So it may not be the sexiest device or the best known device, but it operates in the same way. We do not want to exacerbate the digital divide with our technology. We want to be responsible stewards of tech and make sure that we're delivering across. Now, a little soapboxy there, stepping down, but that's hugely important. And you hitting on the importance of access to the internet, especially now. It's all over the news. Who cannot access the internet? So we intend to continue to deliver on that mission. Now going back to the beginning of your question, Community Connect is really what we wanted Stratis to be eventually from the beginning. And I told you about Charlie's 3-year roadmap for the product. And Lee, I think you and I have had this conversation a few times. The single app to rule them all, to deliver everything. Now, if Stratis had to do that alone, IoT, I think, in my humble opinion, is the hardest thing to deliver because you're delivering hardware and software integrations, not simply software and not simply hardware. That combination without owning all of those products, which is important to us. We don't want to own all the products. That's a significant differentiator for us, is that we have partners like Salto. So that said, we really needed to focus on delivering the most complicated thing first. And Charlie will tell you, I don't want to do the bells and whistles. He wants to do the really hard, meaningful, impactful work. But do you really want your IoT app to be separate from your scheduling, management, leasing, payments, etc. app? You really don't. But for us to deliver both alone would have taken us years. So Community Connect is basically an integration of everything that RealPage does, everything that Stratis does, plus rewards programs, payments, a ton of new features that I think they're going to announce. So I'll keep a little bit, but it really is that all-in-one app finally. And my expectation is that our delivery will be this year. So that's huge for us. Now going to the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi piece with Stratis is basically a device integration. And I don't mean to be flippant, and I'm certainly not shooting from the hip on this. Y'all know Ryan, my co-founder. He is, in fact, a mathematician. Think Fourier, Laplace, advanced mathematics. And he cut his teeth on 3G, 4G, 5G Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi 6. That's where he spent his intellectual time before I wrangled him into Stratis and basically made him CFO, COO, CIO, CTO, etc. He is super excited to get back to being a CTO and delivering on this Wi-Fi product. And it's profoundly different. And I think this goes to show that if you want to address multifamily and student housing, you need to be highly specialized. This is an opportunity for these markets that have been tech neglected and had to shoehorn in technology made for other verticals to really have an opportunity to embrace technology that is specifically created for them. And a little shout out to RealPage, they see that vision. That's why we're together, is because their view on how to deliver to this market matches ours completely.
That's awesome. And the triple bottom line is really cool, and the digital divide is real. So I think that's a huge piece there. And so talk a little bit about the fact that RealPage and Stratis came together. Okay, I think is a huge success, but it's also a huge foreshadowing of the industry. And you were talking about it there with that specialization. So what do you guys see as this platform to platform, multiple platforms, so many platforms in a multifamily development? Where does this combination of RealPage and Stratis see that going in the near future here?
Yeah, phenomenal question. And I think it's really important to get across, especially to our current clients, that Stratis will remain modular. One of the things that we focused on from the beginning is creating an access platform, an energy platform, and smart apartments. So we did that. While we did it holistically and we deliver that building wide, we did so that we could land and expand. So we could land with access, and then we could expand into energy. And you wouldn't have to absorb the cost, either capital or OpEx, completely until we had delivered a return on your investment. Stratis pays for itself with operating efficiencies, not necessarily rent lift, unless you're in a great market that will allow for that. But that's hugely important because it's a differentiator for us. That modularity will remain core. Now that said, maybe you don't need a messaging app. Maybe you've developed your own application. Maybe you need us to integrate with you as a major portfolio. That's available. That will remain available. So you'll get the pieces that you want and need. And let me tell you something. I think the biggest challenge here is not just sexy UI, but easy and intuitive UI. And fortunately, we have some of the best UI designers in the marketplace. Shout out, Olivia.
No, but it makes me think about sort of some of the impacts of here that are positive on that side too. Is so if I look at the sort of traditional contractors that are in our business, this is really in a lot of ways my opinion, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. You know, this is truly getting into some system integration side of things too. So yeah, you can go and get the sort of all-in-one if you want to, and that's what they want, and that's fine. But like you said, if you have a messaging app and, you know, maybe you use Salesforce for your CRM, or you use whatever to do those things, the ability to do that system integration and yet still deliver a seamless experience is a huge opportunity, in my opinion, for the contractors of our world, instead of where historically the value was on the installation and configuration more than integration, right? Well, that was like a poem. But it reminds me, you see some of this go on with business operation tools and that are out there. So like the integration of like Workday with Financial Force, with so like on that side, which is you see SIs do that. The difference here, I guess, is there is hardware that's involved. So, but I actually think that that's actually a net positive for our industry because that makes it stickier.
Yeah.
So what are your views on that?
Yeah, I love the stickiness. I think that's so RealPage saw that. You know, we have about 1,300 properties today. We have lost total in our lifetime 13. That's 6 years of delivering. And I just want to say, startup delivery. That means there have been pain points. There have been releases that weren't perfect. We do our best, and we have all hands on whenever anything goes a little wonky. But in that constrained environment, we are delivering as a startup can and does and had at least. And now I expect our deliveries will be a little more regimented. But that said, when you think about only 13 properties ever leaving us, and it's not because they can't, there are other platforms of software that can enable the hardware that we install, but they don't. That's because the hardware is there. To your point, the stickiness is, listen, I understand why everybody's coming to multifamily as fast as they can right now. You know, do you want to sell a single family home, or do you want to sell 300 units simultaneously? If you don't have a product that's appropriate for multifamily, you're developing it right now. And so the stickiness it's suddenly everybody knows just how sticky a hardware software combo can be, especially in these verticals.
Yeah, no, good. So on that too, so if we take it specific to the access control side, and Colin, you have, I know, some opinions on this too, but when we take a look at it, it is shifting, it feels like overnight, depending on the property type though, but you can see a day when all properties would have systems like this, right? Where, you know, I would say it started like Class A, or it started with, you know, Class B, but a big portfolio and they needed to manage it, right? But you can see a day where every system will have something like this. But how do you see it impacting on the access control side and on the smart lock side to where it feels like it's becoming a feature of a much larger value proposition, but yet still needs to have its own independence because it is a safety product in a lot of cases too. So like that, the sort of tension that gets created with that. What are your opinions on that?
So I think the best experiences we're going to see are going to be those that focused on access first and foremost. It is, so you and I share this history. The creation of an access product specifically for multifamily from a software standpoint, certainly hardware, certainly fire ratings, ADA compliance, etc. Multifamily is unique in its needs. But the software focus, we spent 3 years on access, just access. We didn't touch our energy management system. We had it on autopilot for 3 years. The edge cases in multifamily, and I include student housing because you have things like Turn, where all of your students come and go twice a year. It's the first time that happened, our servers got hit with 8 times the number of calls they'd ever been hit with before. I'm so grateful for our software architect, Kelly Campbell, because that could have killed us forever right there. Just that moment. We didn't know to expect that. So I think that what you're going to see from an adoption and differentiation standpoint is those who, this may be controversial, those who didn't try to address everything all at once and create stackable smart home, you know, smart unit, smart unit, smart unit, smart unit. And those who didn't try to deliver a holistic platform without addressing the smart unit are going to be the standouts. Those who focused on the access piece with a lot of care and attention are going to be able to continue to deliver in this very, very complex space. And the on-demand economy is driving it further, faster than even I expected. So think about hospitality, 5 years. It took 5 years to transition from the Holiday Inn Green Key to all electronic access across the country. And that was 30 years ago. Now multifamily has bespoke platforms addressing this issue. Now our hardware partners are focused on multifamily. This is going to happen fast now. I think we feel that intensity and the urgency. It's going to happen fast because of COVID. It's going to happen fast because of the on-demand economy becoming even more demanding. I may be off, but I think the statistic is that every day is like Black Friday right now for multifamily package deliveries. Literally, same number of packages as Black Friday, but now every day. All of these things are going to drive the fully featured access platform. So that's, you know, if you're trying to do everything from out the gate, it might be a challenge. I think you might get lost in the shuffle.
So you've touched on a couple of things that I have some questions on. I won't ask them both back to back, but if we have time, I want to get.
Okay.
So the focus on access, right, and the importance of that. I don't remember if it was 2 shows ago, 3 shows ago. Lee and I had a conversation on our 12-month rents and 12-month leases going to be the thing of the future. Are we going to start to see short-term, 6-month, 3-month? Are we going to start to see 36-month agreements with somebody where you can live at any one of our properties? Where do you see some of that because that has a huge impact on access control and entrance into buildings and units and sharing units, and maybe you live on the 2nd floor for 3 months and the 12th floor for 4 months. Where do you see some of that, maybe not so much focused on the access control, but just as a multifamily, where do you see leasing and short-term and all of that kind of going?
Yeah, so we started focusing on short-term rentals pretty close to the beginning. Now, when we first got into this space, I wrote an article called "To Airbnb or Not to Airbnb?" That is the question. There was a contentious relationship between multifamily and Airbnb when I got into the marketplace. What we're seeing now is this phenomenal shift towards, frankly, most people expecting that there will be Airbnbs in their home, their apartment building. I don't think, and specifically with, let's just go with maybe our generation down, it is rarely the issue that it had been in the past. So we're going to see some technology come out by the end of the year with Stratis, the hardware division. We'll be putting some hardware into the marketplace to better enable short-term rentals. For us, this has been a focus now specifically for the short-term rental market for the last year and almost a half, to deliver a better experience for both the current residents who maybe sign those 12-year leases, 12-month, yeah, they would love that in multifamily, right? 12-year leases for everyone. We're rolling out new products. Sorry, not 12-year, unless of course you're really good at this. So I expect that this will relieve some of the pressure that multifamily is feeling, and that more and more of our portfolios are going to engage. Our larger portfolios, if you live in a property in, say, Denver, but you're traveling to Florida for, let's use two different cases. One is corporate. So you're gonna go and work at a different office for 1 or 2 months. And obviously in the moment, we're challenged with that whole scenario, but it's still going to come back. That's one scenario where you can go and stay at a large portfolio in Florida for the duration of your corporate stay. And then the other is obviously vacation. If everything that you want to do is in your app, from payments to rewards to your renter's insurance and all of your IT devices, including your access, is all in that one app, how easy is it just to also make a reservation to the place you want to go? I mean, I would do that immediately, because that's my least favorite part of traveling, is making reservations. If I could go and get the same experience with my portfolio and it's already in my app, I'd be like, yes. Yep.
I agree with you. I mean, as someone, so I don't know if Felicite would tell you, but like, and I know Colin knows, but my wife and I and our kids have been on the road for, this is week 3. We've got another one going now, and trying to find places to stay that have proper internet, enough room to be able to do the schooling, doesn't cost, you know, an arm and a leg, but then also just like the little comfort things around that are important to us, but might not be consistent with everybody. Having that, we would have signed up for it, frankly, to be honest with you. And if I didn't have to, this sounds terrible, but if I didn't have to talk to somebody, it would have been even better. Like, it would have been totally better.
Lee, did you know that 86% of millennials and Gen Z, so that's a group, I'm doing that on purpose, it's okay. Those two groups, 86% have anxiety before making a phone call. My daughter will not call somebody. She's like, can I get Chinese food? I'm like, baby, yeah, just make a call and just order. Mommy's busy. And she's like, oh no, I can't call. And we have, you know, kind of an old school Chinese place. It's literally 1 block away. She can go and order it, but no. So she won't make the call. She would rather not eat dinner than make that phone call. And that's all of my kids are like, oh, I don't want to call anybody. Can I just, is there an app? Yeah. It's profound.
But let me ask you this though. Like, so I'll play, Colin, I'll defend the hardware manufacturers here. So let me try this. So how does a company, especially since you've done hardware and software, Felicity, what's your recommendations for a company that, you know, typically forever, these products were built to last for 30 years, right? So the use cases that they're built off of, they don't change as much. So the flexibility is kind of hard in some ways, right? So to anticipate this stuff, like I always like to use the delivery stuff as that's an example of a use case that happened to our industry. We didn't make that, right? So we're trying to respond to it, and we're using old school products and software and that didn't have a use case defined, or, you know, a hardware reference design, or a PRD, and the rest of it didn't exist for that, right? So what is how do you keep nimbleness, if you would, as you get to be a larger company that has to see, though, also returns on the investments that were made to get the product into market, to quickly then shift it is not as easy as I think people think it is.
I agree 100%. I feel for our metal benders. I really do. Just the cost of tooling it's not just prohibitive, it's beyond prohibitive. So my recommendation is to get somebody, if not inside, outside, to think about the future, to think about what's coming, to watch the trends, to monitor what's shifting. These are seismic paradigm shifts, to borrow Steve Wynn. the CEO of RealPage, to borrow his language, this is a paradigm shift that's happening in multifamily. We've never had technology to address specifically the needs of multifamily. So I think most of us who are in this industry or those in hardware could have seen this, but maybe ignored it or thought they'd be fine because they are a major player. I would recommend against ignoring anything ever. I'm a information junkie, truly a junkie. Like I read absolutely everything all day long that I can get my hands on about our industry, about your industry, access, energy, automations, etc. You need somebody at your company with a line of sight to the decision makers who is doing that. And that's okay. So that's high level. From a practical perspective, partner well. Do not do this on your own anymore. Nobody should be doing anything on their own. Nobody should be alone. No one. We are a global economy, whether we like it or not.
The ecosystem is so important. Agreed.
It's so important. Don't deliver alone. Why try? You don't have to. Get good friends. Listen, if you're not a nice person, you might have a problem with this, but most every manufacturer with whom I work is a trusted advisor to me on delivery and a sales partner, more importantly. So partner well and partner meaningfully and transparently and authentically.
So let's keep on that ecosystem if you don't mind. And Lee, if we're going too long, just tell me.
No, we're fine. I think we do a couple more questions and we're good.
A big partner piece of that ecosystem is that integrator. And I think right now what we're struggling with is just like we've talked about, do everything, right? How do we get integrators and security dealers and IoT providers, audio video folks to understand all of these aspects and help them be successful, while at the same time helping them navigate some maybe I'm a single family home, I'm a residential provider, and now you're taking me into commercial, or I'm a commercial provider and now you're taking me into residential, and there's fear on both sides of those pieces. But to scale, those integration companies are critically important for Salto, certainly, and I'm sure for Stratis and RealPage. So how do we help those folks become a better part of our ecosystem?
Okay, so I'm gonna step off camera. This is totally not appropriate. So don't edit it out. You have to leave it in because this is real life. And we're authentic and we're transparent in how we do these things. So 1 second. This is how. So this is really how to deliver to our partners the meaningful information to shift their business. I was on a webinar the other day, and one of my competitors said that they're struggling with their dealer network. Our dealer network is 6 years old. It's 400 families, companies, single sole proprietors in the industry who are struggling but trying to educate themselves to this new opportunity. But we don't just say good luck. We do this. This is like hundreds of pages long. I realize it's a lot, but this is what digital transformation looks like, paper. Okay, a little joke. We have to take I can't express enough how important our partners are, our Stratis certified partners. These are people who've been doing this for a long time a certain way. And we certainly understand how very, very hard it is to make this monumental change, address a new market, network a building. Not everybody's going to be at the same level, but everybody's going to bring something, and we're going to deliver something back to them. They're a profound part of our business, and life is hard right now. Life is incredibly hard. And if you're an installer, it got a lot harder 6 months ago. So we do everything we can to deliver the education. We do quarterly summits. We do weekly refreshers. We're here to make them successful because they make us successful. And we know that's cyclical. So it's hard to change. It really is. And a lot of people don't like change. I love it. But I get that I'm maybe a little alone in that. So take good care. Take good care of our installers, our integrators, our network providers, and make sure they have the tools they need. It's still bumpy, and we have some who transformed very rapidly, and we have some who are still learning, but we take care of them, and we're right there side by side, and we owe them.
Fair enough. I think that's a good point.
I love it. It's a lot. I
know.
Hundreds of them.
No, you do. And I think it's what you're getting to though, is it's sort of like a purposeful engagement that goes beyond, filling out the documents to be able to sell the product and it's an ongoing too. It's not like you do it and then you just now, fill out a forecasting for me of what you're doing, but it's a continuous evolution of it. But there's also though, there needs to be receptiveness on the other side too, for the ones that do that. Right. So it's sort of everybody involved in that. And actually it's interesting that there's certain brands that do that well. And then there's certain brands you could tell that don't. And
we had some drop shippers early on. That was not a good match. Just drop the product and give them a thumbs up. We had a couple of near million milers in our organization early. So we've mostly recovered from that. We've learned a lot. I mean, we were given a lot of grace by our partners, and we will continue to need it as we do things that no one else has done before. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think that there's also, as challenging as things are, it's also opportunity.
Yeah. Well, speaking of grace, thank you very much for spending the time. If people want to find out more about the Community Connect and what you all are doing now, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, so you can go to the Stratis website, stratisiot.com, or you can go to the RealPage website. We are both promoting heavily all of the opportunities to talk about this. You can always email me. I think everybody knows Felicite at stratisiot.com. Respond to almost everything I can as fast as I can. It is a little messy right now, so give me just a little bit of grace there too. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to learn more fast.
Well, cool. One last question too, because I know you do read a lot. Is there what's something you're reading right now that's interesting? Book, something online, a person?
Yeah. So just reading about Sidewalk from Stacy. She keeps me pretty sharp on chip, and it's a nice amalgamation of everything that's happening in IoT. So shout out to Stacy Higginbotham. And then
I think she's having a moment right now too, because you think about all the ARM deal that went with NVIDIA, and then you talk about the chip stuff that's going on like right now is the Super Bowl for Stacy and IoT.
Seriously, she is our industry's trusted advisor for all
she's great.
Silicon.
Agree.
Well, thank you very much, Felicity. That was a lot of fun. So appreciate you joining.
Always a pleasure. Do we have a webinar next week? We can't break this.
Yeah, we might have to find one. We might have to.
Let's see if I can fit. Lee, always a pleasure.
You too, Felicity.
Thank you. Meet everyone.
Appreciate it. You too.
Bye,
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Appreciate it.